One of the most annoying things about a lot of Democratic leadership is that they act like they're not in power. Like, go read Joe Biden's Twitter feed, and it's filled with stuff that sounds like somebody who's not president. So somebody should do something about this issue. It's like, dude, you're president. Well, here we have another great example of this. This is in Politico. Another big Alaska fossil fuel project gets Biden team's blessing. So it's a $40 billion export project that would be the second major fossil fuel initiative in the state to have stalled under Trump and then be resurrected under Biden. Think about that, man. Trump was massively in favor of oil projects and natural gas projects, and Biden is now getting certain ones approved that Trump couldn't get approved. $40 billion export project. Unbelievable. So this one is Alaska LNG, which is Alaska Liquid and Natural Gas. 2 years ago, a multi-billion-dollar natural gas export project planned for Alaska appeared all but dead, the victim of tough economics and Donald Trump's trade wars, but now it's got fresh momentum thanks in part to Democrats' massive climate bill and a push by members of the Biden administration. So let me explain to you what that means, like what's going on here. That means in the Inflation Reduction Act, they had a bunch of parts of it that were genuinely good. Wind, solar stuff, tax credits on that front. You had Made in America jobs for green and renewable technology, billions of dollars put in that direction. Genuinely good stuff, right? But Biden is still a 1990s corporate Democrat, so in his mind, he thinks, we need an all-of-the-above approach. And that means, also do oil stuff, also do liquid and natural gas stuff, and that's exactly what he's doing here. So he thinks, this is the right approach, when in reality, it's contradictory. You do some good things, then you offset it with bad things. And so they go on to explain here, Alaska LNG is a carbon bomb. This is their words. A carbon bomb 10 times the size of the Willow Project. Now, the Willow Project, we just talked about that. That is a disaster, and that has horrendous consequences. We covered it. Go watch the segment on it. They're saying this is 10 times the size of the Willow Project. That is absolutely astonishing. So they go on. Listen to this, guys. The project, which still faces major economic challenges, would ship 20 million metric tons a month of liquefied natural gas produced in the state's North Slope. Buyers in Japan, South Korea, and elsewhere are giving the project a close look, people in the industry said. It's astonishing. I mean, look, the obvious rebuttal is all about climate change. It's all about, we desperately need a new direction. We need it ASAP. We're already seeing the results of climate change on a daily basis. Famine, drought, water issues, including in the near future, wars over water. The Middle East is going to become uninhabitable. I mean, we're talking about real devastating consequences. And instead of really treating this with the seriousness it deserves, it's like, well, let's also approve massive oil projects and liquid natural gas projects. And it's terrible, man. It really does offset all the good that was in the Inflation Reduction Act. It really does do that. And I mean, there's not, what else is there to say about it? What else is there to say about it? Now, look, I would understand to some extent if they made the argument, oh man, there's a war in Ukraine, Russia invaded, and so Europe is short on natural gas, and so we're only going to temporarily do this to bolster them in their markets, but we're going to transition off ASAP. But that's not even the argument they're making. And also, by the way, as I've pointed out to you guys a million times, why do we allow private companies to jack our natural resources, jack our oil and liquid natural gas, and they make a profit off of it privately? That's our land. That's our oil and gas. And so if you're going to do the extraction, at least for the love of God, nationalize it. Nationalize the oil industry. By the way, the only way we're actually going to avert climate change catastrophe is if we do nationalize the oil industry. Because when you have a small number of people at the top raking in all this ridiculous amount of profit, they have an incentive to keep this gravy train going. And what they do is they buy our government. It's I scratch your back, you scratch mine. These people fund all the Republicans and many Democrats. And so that's why you see policy cut in their direction time and time again. And that's where we are right now. That's where we are right now. You have people, Democrats like Joe Manchin, who of course cheered this stuff on. He wants more oil drilling, more liquid natural gas drilling. And again, they go on to say, environmental groups point to estimates from the Energy Department that the project would spew the equivalent of 1.5 billion tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere over its 30-year lifetime, even if it uses carbon capture technology. Wow. That's akin to burning more than 8 million rail cars full of coal. Now, you think young people are going to go for this guy? They feel let down. They feel disappointed. And they should. And they should. And this is why they have to buy support from influencers, the Biden administration does. Harry Sisson or whatever his name was, Sisson, they're buying support from influencers because they can't get it organically, because the younger generation sees through this. I said it before, I'll say it again. There is a candidate in the race who's much more in line with my politics and who would never do things like this. It's Marianne Williamson. And we don't have time to mess around. This stuff has got to stop. This stuff has got to stop. And she's the most direct, straightforward way to make this stuff stop, is to create a movement behind her, get her elected, and start steering the ship in the right direction. Because this stuff is going to have devastating consequences. And the entire time he's approving stuff like this, he's going to virtue signal on Twitter like he's the next FDR and he's the most progressive president ever. Comical. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.